Us. We are here and very excited to be with you as we start talking about client relationship management systems, CRMs. We've taken HubSpot as the big example in how to automate your leads, segment your databases, and that means all about expanding your sales, your marketing drives, and really just automating them, and therefore saving you time and getting you better leads as you go along. So just while the last of you are logging on, we are going to, oops, well, sorry about that, hold on. We're going to just do some quick introductions, and just while the last of you are logging on. So I am delighted today to be here with Anne Burkett from NADEC. I'm sure many of you know already. Anne is a tireless helper and exponent for the U.S. corporate scene, and particularly for exporters, and she is the executive director of the North Alabama International Trade Association. So that I'm also going to be joined by Erica. Erica Oliver is with HubSpot, and she is a partner development manager, and she's having a little bit of technical issues joining us right now, but hopefully she'll be with us and be able to speak properly as she gets her mic sorted out. And then myself, my name is Susanna Hardy, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And just, yeah, who is IBT Online? What are we? We are what's called a full stack digital marketing company. So we are an agency that does digital marketing. And we do all aspects of it, whether that's e-commerce, website build, localization, all aspects of digital marketing. And obviously in today's world, we are full-on AI infused, AI powered human oversight for our businesses. We are headquartered in Fort Lauderdale. We are known particularly for our ability to help US companies drive their business internationally. And we have offices in other places as well. I've listed some of them. China, South Korea, the GCCs, Saudi Arabia, Canada, the UK, France, Germany. There's a couple other places actually as well. But if you want to learn more about us, our website is ibt.onl, and you can find out lots from us. And there's lots of assets you can download if you're interested for free about digital marketing as well. So moving along, we thought today we were going to split the agenda up a little bit, and we're going to ask Anne to start and give us a little bit of an overview of NADEC. And there's some really interesting and exciting opportunities and events coming up that Anne's going to highlight as well. So do make sure you sign up to the newsletter and keep an eye out on the website for NADEC. And then Erica's going to talk a little bit more about client relationship management systems, what they are, how they're used, why one needs them, what they do to help you, and so on. And she is from HubSpot, which is one of the largest CRMs, together with Salesforce in the world. Then I'm going to take it back and talk a little bit more about sort of a general landscape of the internet world today as we see it, and then how one uses a CRM to really make sure that you're reaching the right people at the right time with the right message. And that's really the only way that you can engage with your prospects and help them along that buyer's journey so that they actually sign the contract with you. And that's when we're talking about segmenting, funnels and flywheels and all these little things for that. And then at the end, we've got some sort of takeaways, and there's a little bit of time as well for Q&A. So with that, let me turn to Anne and ask about sort of NADEC and how are things. Anne, over to you.
Thank you, Susanna. And I wanted to turn my camera on for a minute. As you can see, it's flickering and it's a little bit distracting, but I just wanted to say hello. I am so pleased to be on this webinar with you all today. I am currently serving as the chair of the National Association of District Export Councils. And I'm going to take my picture off the camera now. But just a little bit about NADEC. If you're not familiar with us, we are an organization that brings together all the district export councils across the U.S. There are 61 district export councils in every state and territory, because there's more than 50, because several of the larger states have more than one district export council. And the district export councils are members are appointed by the Secretary of Commerce. And so NADEC was formed as a way to provide information to all the DECs and bring them together to work in a more efficient manner. And so the DECs actually elect our board of directors. So we're divided into regions. A lot of this information is on our website. You see the homepage there. And we're divided into regions, and then we have an annual election of individuals from the different DECs. They can run and be elected. And so we have 20 DEC members, and then we have several associates that have been very involved in the exporting. But with the DECs and the NADEC together, we bring a wealth of expertise in the international business field. And we're so pleased to be partnering with IBT Online to bring that digital expertise. We just had a program, I think, a month or so ago about AI that was very well intended and very good information. And today we're going a step further in looking at the CRM. And so but before we get into that, I just maybe go to the next slide. I want to just kind of highlight a few things on the NADEC website. We have national events. Our premier national event is our annual export conference. And so I think that may be on the next slide. And it will be, or is it at the end? It may be at the end. But anyway, we also promote local DEC events. So you can always go to our website and see what local DEC may be having events. Many of these are virtual, and many do not have a cost to attend. So you can go to the website and see if there's something of interest that you would like to learn about. And the next slide will highlight, we have all our past webinars on our YouTube channel, and then also IBT has their webinars on a separate channel, but we try to link to those so that you can, if it's been affiliated with NADEC, you can get to it through the website. And the next slide is news, our newsletter. You can go on there. We send out a bi-monthly newsletter. So I encourage you to go, if you're not receiving our newsletter, go to our website and sign up to receive the newsletter. And is there another slide, or is that the last one?
That's your annual conference.
There it is. Okay. So we have our annual conference coming up. It's just been announced. It's going to be May 12th and 13th, and we are moving out of DC this year to Nashville, Tennessee, the Music City, and encourage you all to come. It's going to be packed information. We're excited to introduce some new programs that the U.S. Department of Commerce is coming out with that have not even been announced yet. Actually, one was announced yesterday. And we try to get the most current information, the most detailed information for companies. And the networking is just phenomenal to interact with all these experienced exporters. So if you can make it to Nashville, I encourage you to join us. We don't have registration set up, but we have that save the date, and registration will be coming soon. So just check back at our website. And then my next comment is about the CRM. I was looking through and prepping for this webinar, and I found a kind of a company example that uses HubSpot. And they said that when they first started, that about 15% of their revenue came from outside the Americas. And through HubSpot, that international market revenue grew 40% to nearly 40% of their total revenue. And that was also at the same time that their domestic revenue was growing double digits. So they also said that HubSpot was, and I look forward to hearing more about it, but HubSpot was helpful in doing the execution work, so-called boring execution work, such as adapting not just languages, but entire go-to-market strategies, building teams in Dublin, Tokyo, Berlin, and Sydney, adapting pricing for different economic realities, and determining the next regional headquarter office location, and developing a tax strategy. So I just thought that was very interesting how they continue to grow. As you know, international growth is your secret weapon. It creates revenue diversification. It extends your product life cycle globally, creates 24/7 revenue generation, and opens talent pools. And so what better way than through the internet and your website to be able to take advantage of those markets. Suzanne, thank you so much for putting this together.
Well, and that's great, and thank you also. So I would really encourage people to sign up to the newsletter. The NADEC newsletter is a really good one. It's got tons of information, and that way you can keep up with the events, things. And then, you know, who needs an excuse to go to Nashville? Yeah, yeah, Nashville, fantastic. I like it. I mean, DC is fine, but Nashville, yeah. Right. I have an issue, which is that my dear friend Erica Oliver, who's from HubSpot, is having technical issues and is not able to join us at the moment. Luckily, I know what she's going to say. So you're going to have to put up with me, pretend I'm Erica. Okay, just pretend I'm Erica right now. HubSpot is one of the leading client relationship management systems in the world. It's based just outside Boston, Massachusetts. The other large CRMs in the world that you probably have heard of are things like Salesforce, Zoho, but there are just lots of them around. The largest in the world, I think, is now Salesforce by market share, but HubSpot is right up there. HubSpot was founded on this notion of something called inbound versus outbound marketing. What that means, essentially, outbound is the old-fashioned way of reaching out to clients, knocking on the door, or prospects, I should say, knocking on the door, cold calling, saying, hi, I want to show you my great product. Inbound is saying that you produce such fantastic content that you become the place that people want to go to engage with you in order to solve their issues. So that inbound is not about cold calling. It's about being the needle in the haystack and making sure that people can find you when and if they need you, when they're ready to need you. And the basis of it is having a database which you can then manage over time and segment and say, this person, where are they on the sales journey? They are just thinking about it. They're just thinking about whether they should even look at this solution or not. Whereas this prospect, he's already done his research. He's got pricing for the people. He's now considering whether he should buy or not buy. So you have a sales funnel, a top of the funnel, a middle of the funnel, a bottom of the funnel. Different parts of the funnel require different content at different times. If someone is still thinking about what solutions they should have, they're at the top of the funnel. They're still doing their research. They've only just become aware of you as a company. You don't want to send them something from the bottom of the funnel, which is like some, I don't know, client testimonial. You want to send them things that are addressing their current issues. Equally, someone at the bottom of the funnel, they've done their research. They are aware of the problem. They're aware of your competitors. They're aware of pricing. They're aware of lots of things, but should take this one or that one. Well, maybe they should be sent a client testimonial at the bottom of the funnel. So all of that depends upon you having a good database and segmenting your database to make sure you're understanding where someone is on the buyer's journey. And from there, providing excellent quality, relevant content to that part of the buyer's journey. I hope that's sort of vaguely clear. Let me know if you have questions on it. So that is what an inbound client relationship management system is. So it's not this cold calling. You know, the age of buying in a database and then phoning up is out. People do not want to have that. You will blow your prospects. You will blow your database. You will waste money and resources doing that, and your brand will be damaged by it. In today's world, on the online world, we're digital first. People do not want to have that spam. What they want to do is figure out first the content. They will go to ChatGPT, they'll put in their problem, and they'll start looking for responses and answers. And once they have enough information, they'll start saying, okay, let me test that one out. Let me test this one out. Let me download that brochure. Let me download this blog. And that's how they'll start looking out. And then that's when you start to say, okay, that's a new prospect. That's a new prospect. Now we send them something else. So that's that sort of inbound philosophy of HubSpot, which I have to say, as a company, we got this resonated very much with us. The idea of buying in weird databases and then cold calling was just soul destroying to us. We just thought it was awful. So we never went into that. From the very start, this whole notion of inbound marketing seemed much more relevant to us. So we're very early partners, very early adopters of HubSpot and the HubSpot inbound method, hence all these webinars and blogs and content, and are a premium HubSpot partner because of that long-standing. We're one of the first outside the US as well, because we brought it to all of our European offices. But now HubSpot has offices all over the world and are very large. I tell you what, why I'm going to still trying to get Erica in, but while I try and just patch her in, I'm going to launch a quick poll. How about that? Give me 2 seconds to do that, to get back into Erica. Just, are you already using a CRM? Does your company have a CRM in place? Do you already use a CRM? Is it fully integrated into all of your sales and marketing processes? Are you using it in a patchy way? Another way of thinking about it is, are you happy with it? Or are you still working on Excel spreadsheets? I am really pleased to see that nobody is working on Excel spreadsheets. So nobody is still thinking about it. You all have CRMs, you all using CRMs, great, but most of you are not using it to the full capacity. Well, a couple of people have just said they're still thinking about it, but most of you are very much not using it to full capacity, which is terrific, and I'm so glad you're on this webinar together, and hopefully we can bring you some clarity and some thoughts about how to integrate a CRM into a sales process, into a digital marketing and sales approach. I'm going to go now and look a little bit more about how, what is the, let me get rid of that poll. Hopefully that poll's gone. Let me step back a second and say, sort of, where are we now in the world, in the digital world? In my wheelhouse as such. We can't really talk about CRMs or digital marketing or anything else without at least having a mention of AI, because it's totally saturated the digital marketing world. Just a couple of essentials, just to get some stats there, so that you leave this webinar with some stats in your head. So we're an awful lot of people in the world today. There's 8 billion of us in the world. There are nearly 6 billion unique phones in this world. The 90% of them, 5.8 billion to be precise, 5.8 billion unique phones, 90% are mobile enabled. Okay, so that means mobile wherever you are, internet wherever you are. 5.56 billion, 67%, 68% of the world's population is online. Almost all of them using social media. What blows me away is that the average time spent online, 5.6 billion people spend nearly 7 hours a day online. I think that's an amazing statistic. And if you're a small mid-cap company, this is good news for you. This is good news. You can say, right, I know how to export. My products are ready for exporting. I have a CRM. I now know, because I've got good digital assets, I know how to reach my clients because I know where they are. They are online. They might not be on LinkedIn. They might not be on Facebook. They might, wherever, but they are online. I need to find them, connect with them, and get them to trust me enough to engage with me, and then bring them along that buyer's journey. A couple of the biggest trends that are going on at the moment in the online world, obviously AI, e-commerce, but this whole notion of personalization, social commerce, data privacy, and security. Personalization is something you can do, and it's very demanded, even in the B2B world, very demanded, and that is something that you're now able to do through proper segmentation of your CRM and the proper use of good AI tools. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. For those of you also who are interested in e-commerce, remember e-commerce is not just for B2C. The B2B e-commerce world is about 3 times the size of the B2C. And it is not stopping. The demand is growing higher than the B2C e-commerce. We've had machine learning since the Second World War, really. If you think of, yeah, certainly since the Second World War. I mean, Alan Turing and all the rest of it, and there's machine learning and unsupervised learning, and then we went on to sort of more robotics in the 50s and 60s and 70s, then artificial neural networks. Sort of 70s, 80s, and continuing now in the 90s. But now we're really into, in the 2020s, into generative AI. And that is a paradigm shift from the rest. The rest, we're just building on these other steps. Generative AI is a paradigm shift. And certainly in the marketing world, it has changed completely how one works. And it's no surprise to me that the internet or the digital marketing soaked up generative AI so quickly. The internet is really founded on AI. Well, the algorithms are about AI, and therefore all the software tools that a digital marketeer uses are based on AI, and therefore the take-up of AI has been really very strong. And proof of that, I think, was just how fast people adopted ChatGPT. 5 days later, 1 million users. It took what was it? Instagram like a year to get there. The point I want of this slide, though, is what's really interesting for exporters or anyone looking at the export markets. Less than 20% of ChatGPT users are based in the United States. So that's worth thinking about. So this is not a U.S. phenomenon only. This is a global phenomenon. And I've talked all about, I'm making ChatGPT, but it includes the rest of them, the Claudes and all the Mistrals and so on, the other ones. I'm just using Chat just as a sort of a number, really because it's the largest. And as you can see from this is a terrible slide, but on the right-hand side, you have the 10 top websites by volume, up to February 2024. On the left, you have the 10 top websites up to February 2025. And look, ChatGPT is in 8th place. It was nowhere just 18 months ago. And guess what? The last number I have, July 2025, Chat is now in number 5th place. It is eating market share from Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and so on. So again, you need to start thinking about this as well. So I really, just before I get into the sort of the CRM part, what's important to understand when you're looking at CRMs, when you're looking at your digital assets, is how the sales process, the marketing and sales process from now on is dominated by the digital assets you need to have and the digital experience. I'm not saying that face-to-face isn't important. I'm just saying you have to have absolutely top bang quality content, a fantastic CRM that you're using to segment, that you're working hard with for your prospects, for your marketing aspects, and that the whole notion of digital assets, your websites, your blogs, your posts, your imagery, your videos have to be better quality than ever. AI has forced up the quality of chain. Your quality, your digital assets have to be better in order to rank also with AI. Just going to leave you some questions that you might want to think about when you have when you're there with your colleagues, thinking about AI and marketing and so on. Sort of what does that mean? How does it how does it impact us, and so on. So here's some questions you can have with your colleagues. You know, what does it mean for my tech stack? What do I have to do in-house, out-house? What about expertise? And most of all, how do I do training? Right, now now we've done sort of AI, we've done the internet. Now let's take a step back, as it were, and look at a fundamental aspect of marketing. And absolutely essential is this understanding of a buyer persona and a localization. And you put the two together and you have fantastic content. And that way you're able to reach your prospects correctly through knowing your buyer persona and their journey and localizing. Localizing means being relevant to the local buyer persona. So we're going to look into that. And again, the AI uses and tools will help us to do some of that work as well the CRMs that one has. So just stepping back, sort of, you know, first of all, what is a buyer persona? A buyer persona, it's important to know, is a person. Okay, it's not the company the buyer persona works for. There's something called an ICP, an ideal corporate profile. That's the company that the person works for. So if I'm selling, you know, hydraulic pumps, I know the companies who buy my hydraulic pumps are the water processors, right? That is my ideal corporate profile. That's who I have in my CRM. I have a list of all the water hydraulic buyers, company, the water processors, for example. But within that, there are people. And all digital marketing is always person to person. So you need to find the person who is buying from you, the person who signs the check, the person who makes the decision within your ideal corporate profile, within your ideal corporation. Who is the person in there who actually will say, this is the right hydraulic pump to buy, this is the right product to buy? That's your buyer persona. Okay. And within your CRM, you're going to have your ideal corporate profile as one unit. And then underneath that, you will list all the different buyer personas and where they are on that journey for you. So here's an example, which I kind of think is kind of funny. It's because it's so obvious in that sense. It's an obvious example of what is a buyer persona. This is Zipcar's mission statement. You know, they have these cars in order to address the problems to urban dwelling, educated, techno-savvy customers who worry about the environment. So, you know, and their imagery, their Instagram posts, for example. Well, there are these two, you know, college students going off with a plant in their hand because they're environmentally conscious. You know, the image is absolutely bang on who their buyer personas are. And even if you look at the tags, you know, it says leafing for college this weekend, it's, you know, worth the trip, travelgram, traveling outside, adventure, so it's all about their mission statement. So their mission statement reflects their buyer persona so perfectly in that sense. Perhaps another example that you might say, you know, is for example, L'Oreal. Now, this is L'Oreal USA, based in New York, and you know, there's the image they've used for L'Oreal USA. And here again are some questions, the 5 questions you might want to think about when you're looking and you're trying to say within your CRM, here are my buyer personas. You know, what kind of buyer personas are they? Are there multiple buyer personas in my export markets? Are my export markets significantly different from my international markets? Indeed, are my local, in this case, New York, buyer personas different from my, let's say, Houston, Texas buyer personas? These need to be flagged within your CRM because they will have different requirements. They will want different resources. So this, for example, is an image of L'Oreal USA, and this is an image of L'Oreal Mexico. Again, there's a subtle difference here, but there is a difference that L'Oreal believes is important enough to flag it in imagery. And this is an image that they think this resonates with my local buyer persona. My Mexican buyer persona will feel at home with this image, will resonate with this. It's relevant to them. So I've understood my buyer persona and I've localized it. I made it relevant to my local buyer persona so that they immediately feel, okay, this is a company that knows me, that feels, in this case, Mexican, and I identify with this image. Which is good. And one of the reasons you want to understand this is that you want to understand what different buyer personas do online and how they react. This is a Facebook, a screenshot from a Facebook ad done some time ago, but it's very shocking to me, so I always keep it. So Canada and Brazil, these are very different buyer personas and very different buyers' journeys. They react very differently online. So as you can see, it's the same ad, it's the same ad we did on the same platform, which is Facebook. One's in Portuguese, one's in English, but there's 1,000 engagements for Canada and 20,000 for Brazil. So obviously Brazil engages in a very different way from Canada. What does that mean? It means that people are on their phone and just react. Whereas Canada, they're like, okay, I saw that ad. Yeah, I'm more wary. I'm more cautious. I'm not going to react. Fewer are going to react. In Brazil, they're just going to send hearts and loves and share it to their parents and send you baby pictures. Very different experience in Canada. Does it mean that all those Brazilians bought the product? Maybe not. Like, for example, so remember this slide, 1,000 to 20,000. But if we, and the 1,000 to 20,000 are the blue and red charts. So you got Canada down here at 1,000, you've got Brazil up there at 20,000. The green and yellow are, in fact, are we going to buy it? And they're almost the same size. They're almost the same number. So from this, I know that I need 20 times more engagement in Brazil than I do in Canada for the same end result of purchase, right? So I know that the Brazilians engage more, but I know that I need that much more engagement in order to have the same result, because what I want is sales. So I need to have that much more engagement in Brazil than in Canada in order to get the same results in the end. So that's what it's about, knowing your buyer persona and knowing that buyer's journey. So the question then is, to turn the question on its head, in that sense. If it's all about localization and buyer's journey, why can't I just use my US website to go worldwide? Why isn't someone in Canada, why isn't someone in Brazil, in Japan, in the GCCs, they can all find me. We're all one internet. We all said we're spending way too much time, 7 hours a day on the internet. Why can't they just find me on my? It's because of the way the internet is structured. The internet search engines like Google, Bing, the other ones, YouTube, are all localized. In other words, they put the searcher at the center of their search. So they say, right, searcher, where are you? What are your concerns? What's your history? What are your cookie preferences? They can see all this. And so they're going to show what is most relevant to that searcher. And your website based in, I don't know, Arkansas might not be relevant to someone sitting in Frankfurt, for example. So it's that respect of the local buyer persona, this local searcher. And that's the key to it. So here's a funny example. On the left, I have a colleague in Massachusetts who has a dog. The dog always barks during webinars. I have a colleague in London who has a dog, and that dog always barks during webinars. So we said, right, Massachusetts, get a squeakless dog toy. Right, London, get a squeakless dog toy. Different results. Both are Google. same keywords, squeakless dog toys on both sides. And the results are very different. Even the Amazons are very different. The blogs are very different. So amazon.co.uk for London, amazon.com for the US. Different companies, because Google knows where those people are. They know their search history. They know what's relevant for them. They know that these things are the ones that are most relevant for them. So that's why your US website does not resonate and engage with your international audience. So this notion of buyer persona and localization. Let's take a silly example, another silly example, Ireland, right? Ireland, super easy. They speak English. Tons of links to the USA. Very, very business-friendly atmosphere and climate. Similar online environment, Google, Meta, etc. But you know what? That's superficially. But if you were to say, now what is it? You know, my US website, is that relevant for someone in Ireland? Well, no, not really. You know, it's not GDPR compliant. The references are different. The hosting is you know, one's in the States, one's in Ireland, and especially if you're in e-commerce, the payment gateways, the delivery method, and so on. So again, it's not relevant for the local buyer. Another way of looking at that is just to say the old keywords. Keywords are still very, very important, even in this age of generative engine optimization and AI. Keywords are really important. So if, let's say you're in the athletic business, and you know you're using the word sneakers in Ireland. Well, less than, you know, a quarter of people searching in Ireland use the word sneakers. 3/4 use the word runners because you run in them. So you know, same search engine, same ads. You know, you're just giving money to Google ads if you're using the wrong keyword in Ireland. So different Google ad campaigns. So in conclusion, this notion of this localized website that is so relevant to your local buyer persona. And it's not really about language. It's not really about whether it's in German or Japanese. It's about whether it's the right domain name and where it's hosted and what platform it sits on and whether it has the right regulatory environment. Because you basically have 2 seconds when someone logs onto a website, they see it, do they go off or not? 2 seconds at most. So those 2 seconds, that first glance has to be engaging enough, safe enough for the person to say, okay, I will click through. I will look at this website to see if this is something that I want to engage in. Luckily, AI has a lot of tools these days which help us make sure that websites are more localized than ever and more personalized than ever. There's a lot of information about that. If you wanted to have more, let me know and I can direct you into the right environment for that. So that's sort of what we've looked at now. We've looked at that general environment of the web, and then we've looked at these 2 key concepts: buyer persona on the one side and localization on the other. These are the 2 main drivers of correct digital marketing in today's world. You really can't begin to do digital marketing in a serious way without having those two notions. I want to talk now about sort of what are called segmenting, flywheels, funnels, and getting back to those CRMs and how to really push your CRM and make it most relevant and a helpful tool for you. The first part that I wanted to mention is really, I think, good practice and sort of advice, as it were, from us. Radical merge your marketing and sales teams. Just try it out. Merge them and call them smarketing. Put them on the same table. Don't let your marketing team work over here in a vacuum and your sales team go over here and never speak. Your sales team if you want to find out who your buyer persona is, get your marketing team and your sales team to sit around a table, give them a large cup of coffee, everybody, and say, sales team, who do you talk to? Who are you speaking to every day? What are they like? How old are they? Male or female? What are they on the phone? Are they on a PC? What are they like? Where do they go? What trade shows do they go to? And that will tell the marketing team much more about how to engage, what platforms to use, and all of that is stored in your CRM for them. The other point, so one, merge your marketing and sales and call them smarketing, and two, invite your digital assets into the room. And by that I mean any action that you're doing as a company has to have, in today's world, has to have a reflection, an impact on your digital assets. You're going to a trade show, put it on your website. Launching a new product, launch it onto LinkedIn. Tell LinkedIn about it. Found a new solution for something, write a blog. So anything you do these days, in your sales and marketing meetings, your weekly meetings, at the last, section of that meeting should be, right, we've had the meeting, we've decided this, what's the impact on our digital assets and who's doing it? What are we doing for our website? What are we doing for our LinkedIn? What are we doing for our Instagram? What are we doing for our blogs and our videos? So invite your digital assets into the sales and marketing teams. Putting them together really does help to bring and have synergies between them and bringing both assets and digital creation. Making sort of those marketing automation that you can through your CRM, where you say, okay, here's the content I'm providing, I'm pushing it through my CRM into that kind of segmented database that we've talked about. Those are market qualified leads, MQLs, that develop into sales qualified leads, SQLs, and therefore eventually turn into, that's the funnel approach, eventually turn into wins, signed contracts. So again, merging those two have that benefit. And really, it's all about having this good database in the background. And I can't stress enough the need to have a clean, well-maintained database. It's this old, garbage in, garbage out. You really have to have the database and work it and make sure it's a high priority. Right from the top of the company saying, that database has to be absolutely, top notch. It's not something that you get the intern to do once a year. No, it's a continuous process to make sure it's up to speed and up to date on that. And that way you can have, goals between the sales and marketing team that can be reflected in the database as you push things through. And again, that clarification of who is the buyer persona in which market and where are they on the journey? Where are they on that journey for that? And that's what you're looking for this. And obviously, if you've got a good database, you can then measure the return on investment of all of your actions and of your sales and marketing efforts. So once you've figured out your buyer persona and figure out where they are on that journey, then you can start to say, okay, what kind of content does each part of that journey require? If it's, for example, they're still looking at the early phases, then you want to talk about those, have good blogs about problem solving. You want to figure out, where is it on the format? How do they take videos? Do they take blogs? Are they engineers? Do they want white papers? All of that is about, figuring out between your sales and marketing team what kind of content is best for your buyer persona and their buyer's journey. There are different stages. There's attract, delight, engage, or attract, engage, delight, flywheel of HubSpot. There are different ways of measuring this for sales and marketing teams. Classically, people would talk about an awareness stage, a consideration stage, and a decision stage. That's what we spoke about before, early on when I was saying, what content do you give to your buyer persona depends on where they are in that buyer's journey. So here, I've given sort of in the consideration stage, well, then you'll want to see maybe some case studies or some spec sheets or some catalogs. In the decision stage, some demos, free trials perhaps, quotes, client testimonials. And at that decision stage, you could even call them up, invite them for lunch, and actually engage with them physically. If you do that too early on, it feels spammy. If you get these wrong, it really feels very, very jarring to the buyer persona. You give someone who's still very much thinking about it a telephone call, and they'll say, it's kind of annoying, go away. Whereas, someone in the decision stage, you're giving them sort of, infographics. They're like, well, that's lightweight. I want something meatier there. So really understanding that buyer's journey. And it's through the CRM that you can map every aspect and every touch point for a prospect, for the buyer's persona. Some examples of this might be more examples of this. If you're, just some things. Again, you could take this and have this in your with your sales and marketing team. If we're going to a trade show, well, let's put some things up on our website. If we've got them at the top of the funnel, let's have an email flow which answers questions, typical concerns, particularly in the age of chat and geo. Then you'll want to have major things that are really high quality, so that the search engines as well as the LLMs will find you and rate you. Got a hot lead sort of at the bottom of the funnel, testimonial, a blog focused on their issues, all of those things. Just then in conclusion on that aspect, here we go. It's having also a well-structured media approach. So having this and having it well defined right from the very beginning to sort of build that brand awareness and making sure that you're really pushing it as it goes along, that so that there's a clear route which is easy to follow from that first awareness to consideration to engagement levels of building. I was going to touch again on sort of how generative engines and LLMs have affected some of these things. I think one of the most important messages is how it affects your search engine optimization strategies for that. And again, this is just making sure that your brand management is on track. LLMs, the chat GPTs of the world mean that your content has to be better than ever, higher ranked than ever, more referenced, more backlinks, links to Wikipedia, all kinds of things to make it even more authoritative. So that your brand management, it's all about brand authority, brand command, not just sort of a flat, everybody knows me. No, it's about the quality of that being known, the quality of the reputation, because that's what really drives the LLMs. So a lot of you will have heard about SEO. Hopefully many of you are now also learning more about GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, sometimes called IEO, but anyway, GEO I think is a better term. And it is different. I'm not saying that SEO is out the window. It's not at all. And the two work hand in hand, more or less. So if you have a strong SEO process, you have a strong GEO process as well. And again, we can talk about GEO if you have questions about that, or I can point you in the general direction of some good resources. I wanted to just also highlight this sort of notion of brand, which really has become even more important because of the LLMs, because of ChatGPT and the other LLMs. The notion of brand development and so on, because LLMs will search out brands that have a highest authority possible. And your brand is really your most important asset for a company. So it's really, it's the thing that differentiates you. It's the thing that guards you against price erosion. You're not just anybody and therefore a sort of commodity price. No, you have a strong brand, and therefore you can charge, you can guard against price erosion. So really keeping your brand is key. So I wanted to highlight a couple of different possible case studies, use cases here. This is a company called Oscarware. They have been selling, grill toppers. They sort of invented the grill topper for some 20 years, but they sell through a whole range of different companies, Asda, Walmart, Target, Amazon, but they just found over time that their brand was getting hidden and was being eroded by sort of cheaper imports and so on. Nobody was going in asking for brand. So how could they get their pricing stabilized and so on? So we built them a strong website, which is very much brand orientated. It's not there to sell so much, although it does have an e-commerce component. You can buy everything there, but you can buy the same on Amazon, Walmart, or their brand. But the brand itself, the website itself, helps establish their brand and allows them to keep up a presence and a strong pricing with regards to their products across different channels. And their social media is all about engaging with their end users. Their end users who are interested in recipes, who are interested in sports and family gatherings. So not just about sort of, talking about their products, but really talking about their end user issues, which is all about grilling. So that's, making sure that you're relevant to the local buyer persona. You're relevant to them. You're not talking about your product, you're talking about their issues. Another one that just to highlight is a company called Amazon. Again, this is more to, it's not a B2C, it's sort of a business to distributor model. And again, they do things very much orientated towards, market by market, pushing it out. And they have different CRM, they have segmented their CRM into all these different markets, so that each market will have its own division and understanding and segmentation of the buyer personas in that market, which I think is a strong one. We've built all these websites for them, and then because Amazon are very cautious about their brand, they do, or we do for them, all their brand and digital marketing, and they generate leads for their distributors. So the distributors are there to provide the product, after sales, logistics, things like that, but Amazon is there to produce the imagery, the brands, and to make sure their brands work through digital marketing, which we do for them. Hi, Erica. There she is at last. Hi.
Did you?
I'm just going to mute you and Erica just for now. And then again, for the localized social media aspect, again, very much a localized approach throughout their products, throughout their approaches. Always on this, we're looking at a return on investment. And again, a CRM allows you to really dive into the depths of it and get the analysis of all of that through whether it's by segment, whether it's by geography, whether it's by type of buyer persona within that CRM. So again, that notion of realizing your CRM, working your database, and getting the right return on investment throughout, which is perfect. Some easy wins, takeaways, next steps, Q&A if we need it. So just sort of a reminder, the AI has meant a lot of challenges for the digital marketing world, but it is an amazing enabler as well. And that whole notion of bringing sales and marketing together, that smarketing notion, which is so strong in today's world. And again, that sort of notion of putting it together and making sure that you have the right assets going forward. AI, I just put down on one slide some aspects for you to think about when you're looking at AI uses for your digital assets, whether that's for your website, for analytics, content creation, market analysis, and so on. Again, fine-tuning that digital assets using AI is really important, whether it's real-time translation tools, which finally at long last actually work, personalization using AI, and then e-commerce as well, really changed through AI. All AI, I mean, there's just an explosion of the types of tools one can use. So really, you really have to weed through and say which are actually most relevant for us for this. And finally, which fit our kind of company best for that. But our view is always have human oversight in all aspects of this. And again, we're for the need for ROI. So those conclusion things we talked about, sort of why, getting back to the very beginning of this webinar, why do U.S. companies even need online business development tools? Well, really working those digital assets is so important because the world is online. Remember those numbers we said in the beginning? We talked about 5.6 billion people online, like 7 hours a day. So really just making sure that you have the right digital tools, localized websites, digital marketing, combining them. And go and look at your own websites and say, are they fit for purpose? Are they doing what they should be doing for us? Are all our digital assets working hard for us, for our marketing teams? And here's a few questions to ask yourself about mobile enablement, high-res imagery, and obviously the one I have not put on this is my CRM connected to all this and working properly? So again, that image of that sort of localized website and what it means to have a localized website, I've put in these 10 criteria. Language is 1 out of 10, and the rest are basically technical aspects. And in the examples we gave earlier and talked about earlier, obviously it is also one of the best tools you can possibly give your export distributors. Your distributors in international markets work best when you give them the right digital tools. Remember those numbers we talked about in the beginning when we said, a CRM is global, but and the internet is global. So really just working through that as much as possible. Some easy wins then for your international business, and this is not so much about your CRM, but just some easy wins to maybe think about if you're looking at your export markets. What are the most valuable URLs you have? Sort of how should I own them? Certainly should not give them away. Don't give them to your distributors. Own them. And finally, for me, one of the big ones is just to focus. Where's the low-hanging fruit? Where's my easy wins? That's where I need to be to make sure that I can build sustainable growth longer term. Lots of books and websites and YouTube channels to go through, and including obviously one of the web resources would be NADEC. And Anne shared with us really nicely some of the NADEC events coming up, and I would again just reiterate, get on board with the email to their newsletter. It's really worth getting in touch with. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us all, for being here and talking about CRMs. We hope that we found it useful to you, and we're able to sort of answer some questions about how you put a CRM into the sales and marketing process. Really essential for today's complex sales and marketing journeys that we all have, especially when we're going into export markets where your buyer can often be a different persona than your local domestic market, and tracking all of that in your CRM is what's so important. Just while before we all go, before we have any questions, I am going to ask everybody just a quick question. If you have an interest in learning more about our online global programs and our offers, let me know. I can point you in the right direction or send you some emails or some blogs for that. And if you have that, and thank you very much for that response. That's really lovely. Thank you. We're getting off that. Thank you. That's it from us. And I've kind of done the time. I wanted to thank Anne, and I'm so glad Erica was able to join us even at the end. That's great. And wishing you, thank you, but most of all, thank you all for attending, for joining us, and for being here with us today. Really appreciate it. I hope it was of use. You will get a recording of the slide deck, and if you want the actual slide deck, send me an email and I will send you a PDF of that version. Not wishing you all the best and happy exporting, happy trading. Take care. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.